guys. For those of you who tuned in to the other one, I do apologize. I think we've got a lot of wind up here in the mountains at the moment, and it's causing a lot of disturbance in terms of our Wi-Fi up here. But I'm going to continue and basically start from scratch again. So, as I was saying before, I've been meditating for quite some time now, and one thing that I haven't really shared or been open about in the past is that every time I go into meditation, I reach really deep states of consciousness where I receive channeled messages from spirit, from divine, and I get a lot of wisdom from them. However, I just feel like a lot of the time it goes to waste because I don't do anything about it. And I feel like this knowledge isn't necessarily just for me to keep. So I think I'm going to start being a little bit brave and facing this with courage, and sharing what I receive a little bit more often. Now, a few months ago, to be about maybe 3 to 4 months, I was deep in meditation and I received really, really intense messages to the point where it absolutely wiped me out. And I had to go for a 2, 3 hour sleep later on, because what happens when you're actually channeling spirit, because the 3D realm is such a dense vibration and you're communicating with spirit that is on a higher vibrational level, it does wipe you out. Because you have to like end up being a frequency match to it. So eventually when you do come back into your body, it takes and it drains a lot of energy. So yeah, let me continue to the visions that I actually received a few months ago. So as I was in like deeper meditation, I saw this beam of light transporting me straight up to heaven. And it was so damn bright that I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't look. However, I had angels and spirit beings around me saying, open your eyes, open your eyes, just take a look. And I was so afraid. And then they reminded me that there was basically no need to be afraid. So I grounded myself within that moment and I decided to look not through my eyes, but through my heart. And that's when I saw God for the first time. And God was not man nor woman. God was both, essentially. And there was this dialogue between God and I within this particular meditation. And what I realized was, just like God, our souls, our spirit from the beginning of time were both man and woman. We were basically non-binary beings. Okay, so our souls don't really associate gender to it. However, masculine and feminine, I need to remind you, or I don't need to, but I would like to remind you, they're just energetic beings, like they're just energies, right? Polar energies, and we need both of the energies in order to find harmony and balance within. And what I realized in that moment was, just as we had split from the kingdom of heaven, we had also split from God. And we had also split away from ourselves, from our true beings, which is why the masculine and the feminine counterpart of one soul pretty much goes into separation. And as we're in states of separation, we walk this earth and we continue our journey seemingly lost, until one day we come across our divine counterpart, and that's just when the spark of life hits us like a 10-ton moving truck down the highway, and we're reminded of what it is like to be home again, to feel complete, to feel whole with the other individual. So you end up falling really, really fastly in love and head over heels. However, just as quick as the journey started and sparked, it tends to tumble down just as fast. And this is the most important part of a twin flame journey, is the separation. The reason being is that the separation, it's basically an initiation into the underworld, into our shadows, into the darkness, the dark realms of ourselves, of our ego selves, if you will. And within that initiation, we tread this earth, maybe feeling depressed, maybe feeling miserable and lost and unhappy. However, it is also our biggest catalyst for change and transformation. There's this old Mesopotamian goddess, Inanna, and they talk about her journey when she travels to the underworld to go and visit her sister. And I think, if I recall correctly, she goes and travels to the underworld because she pretty much wants to reclaim herself and become queen of heaven, as well as of the earth, as well as of the underworld. So she gets put through these trials and tribulation from her sister, who is the queen and the ruler of the underworld. But as she reaches each gate, she's made to take off a garment of her clothes off until she reaches the final gate, where she's naked, she's her most vulnerable, and she's her most raw self. And as she reaches the final gate, that's when she ends up dying. However, she gets saved by the god. I think it might have been Enlil. She gets saved by her father Enlil and basically resurrected from death. And I like to see this story as something that's quite similar to what we go through as humans on this earth. So those 7 gates are basically our initiation to different stages of our soul's evolution here on earth. So the gates are representation of transformation, of metamorphosis, of basically letting go and shedding all these layers that no longer serve us, that basically feel like heavy armor, and they're a bit of a burden to carry. And they become a little bit heavy, and we get so used to carrying all this heavy weight that we forget what it feels like to be completely light, completely free, completely unburdened. And sometimes we're so attached to these burdens because they are a part of our identity, or at least we think that they're a part of our identity, when in fact they're a part of our earth identity. And our earth identity is only very temporary. Our soul identity, our soul's character, our soul's self is the true self. And so when we're walking and when we're being initiated into this valley of death, this underworld, if you will, we're letting go of all those limitations, all those self-beliefs, everything that the meeting of our twin flame sparked within us. They have shown us what it is like to be home, to come back to the self. They've given us a taste, and they've introduced that spark back to our lives again. And that underworld, that initiation, that walk that we have to actually do on our own, is us finding our own home within our own hearts and our own selves again, and coming into union within before manifesting it without. So when both counterparts separate and they both go into this initiation of the underworld separately, then and only then, when they've completed the whole entire ritual, will they come back up, will they reunite and come back together again. However, we do have free will, and if unfortunately, if the other counterpart or one of the counterparts decides not to do the work, the meeting doesn't necessarily, or the union doesn't necessarily come to fruition, because it has to take two to bring that unity back together again. So the reason behind this is that when these two counterparts go off and they do their own work, their own shadow work, and they delve deep into their insecurities, they delve deep into their fears, and then they basically just shed everything and let go of everything that doesn't serve them any longer, and they find their true selves, they find their own inner harmony, they find their own inner balance, and they come back to home, to fullness, to completion within their own selves, then and only then do they have the capacity to unconditionally love. And when you get two people who are capable of unconditionally loving one another, that gives creation to a new birth, a new spark, a new era on this earth. And when you get two people that have done the work, coming again into unity, whom are conscious, whom are aware of their fears, whom are aware of their setbacks, who are aware of their self-limiting beliefs, and have taken the time and practice to decondition everything that's been taught to them, can you imagine the divine child that those two people will bring into this world, will bring into this earth? They serve as two gateways to this divine rainbow light child that has to be birthed from two people vibrating on a really, really high frequency. So like high, I guess, or like the way that I see it, they have to come through a template that is as pure as possible in this human life. So when this child gets birthed through these two divine beings, through these two divine people who are very aware of their own self-limiting beliefs, they are then able to consciously bring up the child without having to impose any of their conditionings onto the child. And the reason for this, and the reason why it's actually so important, is because this child that comes through heaven, or comes through this divine spark, if you will, needs to be untainted in order for the evolution of the world, in order for the evolution of the earth to be able to move forward, because we need new energy now more so than ever. We need to be moving forward into a new consciousness now more so than ever before. And yeah, I guess like the whole entire reason behind the twin flame journey is never, it's not about romance. It's not about you or the other counterpart, but in actual fact, it's about the child that these two beings are going to be able to birth through, so we can bring a new consciousness onto this earth. Because that's what we actually really, really need right now in order to be able to move forward. Otherwise, we're just going to remain stagnant and stuck, which is why I feel like a lot more twin flames than ever before are feeling called to one another, called back to home, called back to unity, called back to the actual true core self. So yes, that was my channeled visions that I actually received quite a while ago, and yeah, I guess sit with it, see how it feels for you. But that's what I received, and I was in meditation today, and Spirit reminded me, and I guess it would be selfish of me to not share this beautiful divine magic with you guys. Anyway, sending you guys lots of love, and have a blessed remainder of the day, or blessed day, depends on where you are in the world when you wake up and see this. But yes, sending you love. Mwah. I'll see you guys when I see you next.